Yes, play, how it encourages creative thinking, thinking out of the box, and as a communication tool. Nica, welcome back into the program. How does one become Lego serious play facilitator? You have to go through some kind of building block training.
Oh, yes. A few years ago, when the master from Denmark came down to Singapore for the training, I grabbed the opportunity to go for this 4 days workshop. And in the workshops, we just have to learn how to build and learn what is the methodology about, how to get people to go into the flow, how to actually think, through with their hands. So after that, we have to design our workshops and present to all our classmates in order to pass the whole workshop.
Who's better at building stuff, the men or the ladies?
I would say everyone has their own potential, and I noticed that usually the girl would like to pick all the colorful bricks,
Okay.
and then the man would go for probably the blue and the gray and
the white.
Yeah.
Is that all the differentiation is? Is that a sign of creativity, or is it a sign of perhaps being stick in the mud?
I would say that definitely creativity is there, because, for example, if we restrict them to just use 10 pieces of bricks to actually build a tower, they will try to actually outbeat each other, especially for guys, just to make sure that they can build the highest tower as possible. But for the lady, you realize that actually they kind of build as sturdy or as strong as possible. Maybe because they felt that they felt that it gives us kind of like security.
So what is that when you come across this time and again, the ladies building a foundation and the men using their competitive spirit in building it high? I'm not saying the ladies aren't, but men just going with the flow sort of thing.
Right, yes.
What does it tell you about the two kinds of management styles, perhaps?
I would say that perhaps for ladies, sometimes they pay more attention to certain kind of details. Right, correct. So they look into how they stack the bricks, and they really painfully actually make sure that they stack all the bricks correctly.
And so that the structure won't collapse.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, for the guys, they just like free flow. Okay, I'm just going to go as high as possible, and if it kind of like breaks down, I'll just do it again. Yeah.
So in that scenario, we put the cart before the horse, or at least I have. So who should be attending or who is it targeted at? What kinds of levels of management, or do we need grassroots involvement as well?
I would say that based on the topics that we are talking about, if it's going to be a very generic topic like a communication, collaboration, yes, it can be for all, even from rank and file all the way to the top management, because we need the synergy between the both of them. But if you're really targeted on just the strategic planning, it's very good for kickoff sessions for the next financial years. And of course, the top management people will be the best person to be involved.
Okay, so when the top management people are involved, do they build their individual towers, or are they supposed to build in a collaborative effort?
Oh, we let them flow through different phases.
Okay.
So for example, for the first phase, we get them to build the individual, because we are all individual having our own individual personality. So we need to actually call that out first.
All right.
Then after that, we get them flow through the team building sessions, where we actually get them to build team model. Then they will be able to see that, how my individual characteristic will fit into a team.
Okay.
So this is how we actually get them to see.
Does the building of bricks bring out this trait, show people what you're like?
Oh yes, especially when we use that for feedback. It's so brutal, because
Really?
when you use SurveyMonkey or other survey forms, people will just generally say that, okay, I'm neutral, I'm fine, the survey, the feedback is always okay. But when we use this in a feedback session, so for example, I was doing this for a channel partner where we bring 16 MD into Singapore. We bring them to Botanic Garden, put the poncho and on the floor and get them to build. And the principal are there as well. And when we ask them, how do you see the relationship between you and the principal right now? And there are people who built a ball. And when we ask them why, was there a reason for this model? They say, because we felt that we're being kicked around like a ball.
Okay, so they're very forthcoming.
Exactly.
With the
feedback.
With the powers that be. Is it a named feedback there?
Yeah. So because we are drawing out all the most I would say the
The
inner
angst.
feelings, everything from them. Yeah.
Right. 669-11938. If you want to get in on the conversation with my guest this morning, Nica Foo. Nica is from Amplify Point. We're talking about Lego serious play. Communication, strategic thinking. What else? Creativity. What else does the building blocks of Lego bring out in a person?
I would say that because when we are actually playing with Lego, we can't play with one hand.
Right.
We usually have to play with both hands. So
Okay.
we are integrating the left brain logic and the right brain creativity all at the same time, which means that we are triggering all the neurons in the brain. So in a way, we think differently from where we are formally wired. So this is really about disruptive kind of innovation. Yeah,
Okay.
thinking differently.
Well, you brought up the term disruptive. It seems to be an off-bandied word about these days. Everybody is facing disruption. How does this, disrupt thought patterns or strategic patterns in a corporation?
Well, the way company innovate is sometimes they go through the conventional sustaining kind of innovation model where they just put in all the profit in making the same innovative products that they had before.
Right, legacy systems.
Yes, correct. So for example, if you have an iPhone, people will just make an iPhone 7 and 8 and 9 and it goes on, right? But what if companies can actually park aside a small little team where they get them to just continue to actually use the company bigger resources, but think of something very differently. Even though at the moment it's not actually the kind of like contributing to the profit margin yet, but in a way because people are free to think differently, so they are able to come up with something smaller, better, faster, and perhaps this is where all the innovative products comes about. So this is how we talk about disruptive kind of innovation.
Talk to me about the reactions of the participants and the reactions of the principal.
Right.
Do they, after a session, what's the most startling revelation that you've heard?
Right. I mean, if going back to the previous sessions that I talked about the channel partner, I think what they did differently was that they actually kind of really, park a salesperson beside all the different MD to actually listen to the feedback, and they note it down and they bring it back and they kind of like discuss about how they are going to do better for the channel partner. So in a way, for that financial year, they use all this feedback that was drawn from these sessions to really change and improve. And the channel partner was very happy with that. Yeah.
On the individual participant, have they come up to you and said, this changed the way I think, that changed the way I might be doing things?
Yep. Because, usually for all this top level management people, when they go into a meeting, to think, they usually talk about drawing on the whiteboard and this is how they think. But when they come to a session like this, they are totally freeing themselves to build and to actually communicate differently. So in a way, they feel relaxed. So we talk about, fun learning, kind of like, expand your possibility.
Right.
So for the players themselves or for the participants themselves, they felt that, hey, this is something refreshing. And I feel happy about that. Yeah.
Again, I bring up the issue of the reticent Asian, letting my feelings getting the better of me is not part and parcel of the way things are done. If you're talking about this, how disruptive can this be to a person who is encouraged to, express him or herself?
Right. I think, sometimes when we are being challenged to do things differently, we kind of have fear. The fear comes from because we are not sure whether our ideas will be accepted or whether, we are actually thinking along the right path.
Right.
So, but in a session like this, you don't need to fear because you are just building your thoughts into the model and you are talking about the model themselves. Yeah, so in a way, you are able to relate things differently. And because you are now standing at a third-party perspective, looking at your model, so you are able to relate your story differently. Yeah.
Supposing I build a model that doesn't look very nice, I'm not as creative, does that, do I get taken down for the fact that I'm not creative? That's a question we will put to Nica when we come back after an update of what's happening on the road.